Hey everybody, and welcome to Let's Look at the Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures. Obviously, this is a retro-inspired action platformer based on the comedy antics of viral video game niche sensation James Rolfe, aka the Angry Video Game Nerd. This came out on Steam yesterday. It came through Steam Greenlight, and it made it through very, very quickly, of course, due to the pedigree and the influence that James Rolfe and the community at Screw Attack and Game Trailers, etc., all pull for themselves. And it's $15, so we're gonna play it, and I'm gonna talk about my thoughts on it, as is the norm. I wonder if there is an option. Yes, there is an option to clear save data, actually, yes. Let's do this, because I want to play through some of the earlier levels. As you can see, I've died 158 times in roughly an hour of playing the game. That's, close to 3 times per minute. So it's a pretty difficult game. 76 beers drunk in an hour. Yeah, that sounds pretty legit, I guess. We're going to start here, and we might actually have to go through the tutorial, but that's okay, because it will demonstrate kind of some of the tropes of the game, and the game strikes a good balance between being funny and also being a half-decent game in its own right. I don't think this is the best action platformer that's ever come out, but I also don't think, it's as bad as it possibly could have been, given, maybe you are cynically thinking this is just going to be a cheap cash-in. Not totally. So there's 3 different kind of modes here. I was playing on normal, which is difficult enough in its own right. On easy mode, you get 6 beers. Beers are basically your health meter. On limited retries and strong weapons, easy enemies, you get 30 lives on normal, and at which point you have to continue the game. But you do have unlimited continues, I think, whereas on old school, you only have 5 continues to beat the entire game, which is nuts. But anyway, so we're going to get started here, and a lot of the story is told through this comic book style, well, it's not really comic book style, is it? It's like SNES style or NES style splash screen. So basically, Angry Video Game Nerd was playing around, and then he got grabbed by his nutsack and pulled into his TV, where he is actually going to join the game world. And we're in Game Land 3 a.m. As you might expect, not only is the game chock full of references to the Angry Video Game Nerd's content himself, so, it definitely is a game where, pretty much exclusively I would recommend this to fans of his content, of which I am one, I'll admit. I used to religiously watch Angry Video Game Nerd videos, and he was actually one of the influences that eventually led to me getting started on YouTube. So, I do owe him a great debt, of course. That being said, there are also a lot of classic video game references that you will run across as well. For example, obviously we have Navi. Or I guess it's is it? I get confused between the Dota team Navi and then like Navy from The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Toasters are checkpoints, by the way, and beers represent our health again. So obviously Navi being annoying is something that we are going to have to deal with here, but that's something the game mines a lot of fun out of. Now, there is an achievement for killing her, or him, or it, and I don't understand how we do that. Maybe with our rock we are capable of doing it. But this is obviously one of the jokes that is talked about a lot in the AVGN episodes, especially of old. He's playing something like Fester's Quest or Castlevania, and he's just throwing the rocks, and they just arc but don't actually hit anybody. So one of the things... Oh my god, I've been killed. Every time you die, you get a quote like this. This game is fat ball juice launching out of a penguin's fingers. I think that's from like some kind of procedural AVGN generator. And to be honest with you, that gets kind of old pretty fast. A lot of them don't even really make sense. I guess, a lot of the ones in the videos don't really make sense either, but still. Let's try not to get crushed here. One of the things the game adds as a hazard, and it's a weird one that I've never seen before, is these blocks that basically just kill you instantly. So if we touch these, we die, even if we are in a period of invincibility. So let's use some of our power-ups here. There's only really 3 power-ups and 1 weapon that I've come across in my hour at the game so far. This is the Glitch Gremlin, causes the enemies to glitch out. And that didn't really do too much, but also we have Super Mecha Death Christ 3000, and he just runs in here and fucks shit up, basically. So again, the references to AVGN videos, as one might expect, abound here. That being said, there is kind of, in my experience so far, unless things change, a dearth of power-ups for sure. I've come across the Super Scope, which of course is used in some of those videos that James Rolfe made to dispatch of enemies. But also, Super Mecha Death Christ, the rocks that are ineffective, as well as the Glitch Gremlin. Those are the only kind of like Y button power-ups or Castlevania-style items that I've come across. So there's 8 different levels here. Each one with its own kind of different kind of aesthetic style, different boss at the end of it, and different enemies that you come across, and hazards. I'm not totally familiar with all of these, if they're all related to episodes he's done. Obviously, Beat It, Need It is, and I'm not going to play that one on camera, but I have played that one off camera, And, you know, that's the inspired by the sexual or porn games for the Atari 2600 episode they did. But why don't we start with Assholevania here? So obviously Castlevania is a frequent target for ribbing on AVGN episodes. So this is one of the better levels that I've played in my experience so far. And there's a lot of trial and error that goes on here. Why don't we just talk about what the heck I'm doing here? I'm using the Xbox 360 controller just because that's what I prefer to use for action platformers like this. A button is jump. The X button is fire your gun, and the Y button is use your power-up. And we are going to die a lot here. So remember, you have 3 hits. There are things that kill you instantly, but for the most part, we're going to have 3 hits. Falling into a pit of despair will kill you instantly, by the way, as you might expect, and as I just did. I promise I was not actually doing that in order to demonstrate it happening. So this is kind of a weird game for me. Because in the time that I've spent with it so far, I very much have been oscillating back and forth between being like, okay, this is like pretty good, and it's really satisfying when you actually manage to succeed. But there's also times when I'm playing it, and I'm like, I don't know if I'd necessarily like this at all. Here's the way that I'll explain it. I like the gameplay a lot, but the humor is like the worst part of the nerd's humor for me, which is just that like random kind of spewing of, you know, profanities that kind of sound funny when they're laced together. Like, oh, it's like buffalo hot sauce coming out of a penguin's asshole. Like, that is the superficial level of humor that goes on here. And for me, I think, you know, I don't know what to call him. Be a normal person, call him by his name, or call him by his alias, you know. But I think James Rolfe, in the videos that I've seen of him, where he's not using the nerd persona, is a very, very genuine, nice, and, you know, clever and funny guy. And I feel that way in his videos as well. I think he makes a lot of, like, really good criticism and a lot of clever jokes. But the profanity-laden stuff, it's not that I have any kind of, like, moral disagreement with it. It's mostly just that I think it's kind of cheap laughs. And this is what this game really relies heavily on. I mean, I didn't expect heavily nuanced writing or anything like that, of course. But it is a little bit disappointing at the very least. Oh my god, I'm getting my ass kicked here. This is one of the harder sections of this level. I'm a little bit disappointed at least, thank god. We got that weird glitch there, but then I died soon after. That it does kind of take the easy way out. As one might expect in a game that, you know, you're not necessarily going to be spending 40 hours with. There's not necessarily a whole bunch of time for them to build moments. But it is still a little bit disappointing in that, I would say. I don't think the game is particularly that funny. The funniest parts of it are the references that you'll see. That's going to be a fall, yeah. The references that you'll see throughout the levels that you come across, either to AVGN episodes or to other games, for example, you know, that Majora's Mask in the background there. Majora's Mask Moon, I guess I should say, not the actual Majora's Mask. But the gameplay itself kind of makes up for it to a certain extent. It's very Mega Man-y. Certainly, I would not go as far as to say that this is as good as, you know, a Mega Man 9 or a Mega Man 10. I think those games are very fantastically made. This is not as bad as I thought it might be, though. There are times when I feel like it kind of falls victim to letting... And this is not necessarily a horrible thing, but letting humor take precedence over good game design. Like, there's times, you know, you get that item like the rock, and your guy's like, oh, this rock is useless. And you're like, yeah, okay, I get it. That's a funny joke. And I thought maybe it would only give me that once. But then, oh, that was really stupid of me. But then it turns out that is one of the power-ups that shows up all the time. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, that power-up is garbage, because for the most part, you can just jump and shoot enemies. But you know, Glitch Gremlin and Super Mecha Death Christ, those actually have their places, but they seem to show up a lot less often, at least in my experience with the game so far. Now, this is one of the puzzles that you will see in basically every single level of AVGN Adventures that you come across. These blocks that kill you in one hit, phasing in and out, and you having to kind of remember where they spawn and not walking into them. You know, it's kind of a weird way to design a game, but it's kind of a neat gimmick as well. It's a style I've never really seen before. I guess I have seen this, you know, sometimes. Even in Spelunky, you know, if you go on the worm level, there's puzzles that are kind of similar to this, where, you know, blocks that kill you are phased in and out. Oh, that was really stupid of me. But this is a trope that we will see reoccurring all the goddamn time in this game, for better or for worse. On the beat 'em and eat it level, or beat it and eat it level. For some reason, saying beat 'em and eat 'em sounds substantially worse. Unless you think of it as like an eat 'em cheese, and then you gotta, you know, beat it to whip it into shape or something. But yes, it's particularly frustrating on that level. But again, we're not gonna see that level because it has some cartoon nudity, which I am particularly paranoid about putting on YouTube, as this is indeed my livelihood. Come on, you can do it! if that checkpoint was just a little bit closer. This is a game, you know, it's Nintendo hard, to put it in TV tropes terms. It's not as hard as one might expect. Like, for example, is this as hard as Volgar the Viking? I don't necessarily think so, just because, well, it does, oh, Jesus Christ. It saves your game in a little bit more of a visceral way than otherwise, but, you know, it's hard in its own ways. You do only have 30 lives per continue, so if you don't beat a level in 30 lives, you have to start back from the beginning. Now, you know, something like Mega Man, you usually have like 2 to 3 lives, of course, but the levels that I've come across in this game so far have typically been fairly substantially more difficult than your average Mega Man level as well. Not to say that the game as a whole is harder than a Mega Man game, which is, of course, a direct influence, but also is an extremely difficult franchise. Okay, now just fall down to the toaster. Okay, we made it. Now, these ones move a lot faster, so you gotta be a little, more cautious about that. In a way, I do kind of feel like it's kind of a cheap design mechanic to just have blocks with skulls and crossbones that kill you instantly. But it is the kind of thing that's not necessarily, you know, maybe I'm missing a joke from a nerd episode or something, and that's why these show up all the time. But otherwise, I feel like it's, what if we had these blocks that they just kill you instantly if you touch them, and then, you know, then you don't have to design spikes or lasers or something like that, and you can just have them phase in and out and make interesting puzzles by themselves. We're just going to stand here for a second and wait until it's safe for us to move under this. Okay, much, much better. Now I would love to have an item. I wonder if I can just make this work. Obviously, I want that Super Mecha Death Christ. I wonder if I can just make it work like this. Yeah, this does appear to be working a little bit better. Okay. So we'll jump over here. And we are getting fairly close to the end of this level. Typically, the boss fights that I've come across have been the easiest parts of the mission so far, in all honesty. But there's definitely some aspects of trial and error involved. If you can beat the missions on or the levels on your first playthrough of them, I wouldn't necessarily say you're, you know, a god amongst men, but you're gonna probably have an easier time with this game than I have, because I have been getting my shit rocked consistently. Okay, I can actually survive here and totally cheese the fuck out of these enemies. Oh, and then I jumped into that by accident. So we only have 14 lives left. I would love to actually beat the enemies on this one. Obviously, the Super Scope, it's a powerful weapon. It kills the enemies in one hit. But I guess what I was trying to get at with that difficulty point is that this is not like I want to be the guy. This is an easier experience than that. It's hard. Don't get me wrong. Oh, I'm gonna get hit by that too. Don't get hit. I'm gonna get killed for sure. Yeah. It's a hard game. There's no question about it. But it's not necessarily as hard as other games that have come out and kind of become notorious for their difficulty. There's a lot of trial and error, a lot of pattern recognition, and it actually does, in my opinion, a fairly good job of. Don't get hit. Good. A fairly good job of kind of replicating the kind of difficulty of a lot of the games that the nerd plays, or a lot of the games that, you know, I assume that he would like as a result of, you know, the pattern recognition and enemy kind of stuff that comes along here. I'm getting my ass kicked. You know, as always, I would encourage you to be civil, because it is harder to play games and talk about them at the same time, especially with difficult games, than one might originally think. There we go. So we finally managed to not get hit off the start there. This is one of those games where, you know, the difference between, oh, I can't believe, I thought I was free there. The difference between, am I safe? Yes. Between living and dying on a section is oftentimes just like not getting hit once and then being able to kind of take that momentum with you. Let's make it through this section. This is one of the harder parts of this level for sure. And this is actually, it's not the hardest level, I think. But it is one of the levels that took me a few tries to beat. I have beaten the boss in this one. I think we fight Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde at the end of it, which is one of the, oh my god, easier bosses in the game. A lot of the bosses, you know, they have similar kind of attacks as they do in their own games. So Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde just has an attack that makes him very, very easy to avoid, as one might expect, given the canon, I suppose. So let's wait for this enemy to come across. I am putting on a terrible show as of right now. There we go. And we managed to make it through there. And I didn't get hit there, which is extremely positive. So now we'll just clear out these enemies. We gotta wait for them to come back. This is the problem. So I gotta sit here and be patient. I wonder if this is one of those games that has kind of like funny idle animations. I wouldn't be surprised. Where's the safe spot for me to stand? I wonder if I like stand on the... I don't think so. We're gonna run. It sort of worked. It sort of worked. Kill him, kill him, kill him. Okay. Get to the toaster. This is where the boss fight is, and we should be able to beat the boss pretty easily here. So he shoots this fireball. As mentioned, really easy to avoid. That's why I was eviscerated into a million pieces right at the start of it. But yes, he, you know, shoots these balls that are pretty easy to just stand out of the way of. And you can't hurt Dr. Jekyll, but you can beat the shit out of Mr. Hyde whenever he transforms into this guy. So we'll just stand over here. And, you know, you got to watch out for the spikes as well, of course. But oftentimes, this is just a matter of consistency. And he'll transform again, and we should be able to maybe even kill him on this very one. That was super easy. Okay. So as you can see, the boss fight's not necessarily the most difficult part of the game. So we beat that in 9 minutes, 20 deaths. That's pretty good. Why don't we move on to, you know, I'm skeptical of which ones I should go to. I want to go to levels that I know, because if I go to something like, you know, Future Fuckballs, and then there's just a big old, like, digitized clitoris, I'm not necessarily comfortable with that. Not that, you know, to some extent, there's no way I can avoid it. But we'll go on to the snow level here. Music in the game, by the way, you know, graphically, I think the game looks pretty authentic or genuine to what it's trying to ape. Music's pretty good as well, in all honesty. I think it's better than one would have expected. And again, you know, this is how I'm thinking about the game so far, and I've been talking about it a lot. Better than one would have expected is actually fairly consistent with my thoughts about this. I didn't necessarily expect this to be horrible, because that would be, you know, seriously, critically irresponsible of me. But I don't know, I kind of expected it to be a little bit half-assed, just... I expected it to focus way more on the humor than the quality of gameplay, and that's not necessarily been my experience so far. I don't think this is like, it's not in the same league as something like a Mega Man or a Castlevania. Obviously, those games are classics, with huge teams behind them as well, of course. But it's certainly not as bad as it could have been, given if the designers were perhaps a little bit more cynical or just wanted to make more of a cheap cash-in. What I will say is that I think $15 for the game does kind of send the wrong message. That is pretty pricey for a game that, you know, if you look at its competition on Steam, you might be forgiven for thinking the only reason that it's $15 is that it does have some fairly substantial name recognition. You know, games like Intrusion 2, I don't think that was $15. That was like 4 or 8 or something. And that's probably the most similar game to this that I can really think of, kind of like a side-scrolling Contra-like. And, you know, fairly comparable in terms of quality as well. I know a lot of people like Intrusion 2. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the game, but I appreciate it for what it is. Gotta watch out for these flame jets. We are getting actually fairly close to the end of the first section of this level. Can I just drop down here? I think I can. And, oh, this is scary. I don't really want the 1-up. It would probably be a smart idea for me to get it because, obviously, like, I'm not doing so hot with respect to 30 lives right now. Okay, we'll just sneak through there then. Oh, no. So we're probably going to die very, very soon. And then I'll respawn and I'll try to beat another level over the course of this. In fact, that was probably a very silly decision. I do kind of hate this. This is not something that's exclusively a problem in Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures, of course. This happens in a lot of games. But it's really frustrating to be like, okay, I have 6 lives left. I have no chance to beat the game, or to beat this level on 6 lives. Like, I just don't know it well enough to make that happen. But there's no just like, hey, can you just like respawn me with 30 lives option, even though continues are unlimited? So you just have to wait until you die some more times. And oftentimes, for me at least, that leads to me like throwing myself off a cliff 5 or 6 times just to kind of save myself some time and my sanity to a certain extent as well. Oh, probably shouldn't have walked into that. But, so yeah, I feel like all the progress that we're making right now is for naught, because pretty soon I'm just going to die and I'll have to use a continue, and that's fine. It was very close to getting some more HP there. But it's pretty frustrating as well. The good news is, you know, there's usually things that can kill you around just about every corner. So why don't we just walk into this thing a couple more times, and then we'll respawn. And there actually is a nice little nerdish Easter egg, I guess. Not Easter egg, but nerdish nod. Great name for like a math rock band as well. When you get down to 0 lives, he will say, where is it? You're dead, your friends are dead, your family's dead, your fucking pets are being skinned alive, your mom's a fucking whore, you suck at life, the whole world hates you, you're going to hell, live with it, game over. I forget what episode that was from, but or what game that was from, I guess, but I'm glad there's little nods to that. I probably haven't seen an Angry Video Game Nerd episode in a couple of years. I think the last one I watched was like the making of episode. I know he's been hard at work on his movie, but I do like the classic nerd episodes a lot. But again, I like them more in their discussions of the game than the nerd character himself, who oftentimes, you know, I don't care that he's offensive. It's just kind of it's cheap laughs to me versus kind of you know, funny criticism. Like the funniest episodes for me are things like Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, where it's like this game is so goddamn abysmal that, you know, that takes precedence over, you know, just making up these your own curse words, which is fine. You know, some people are into it, some people aren't. I think it's pretty clear where I stand on it. That's not to say I'm, you know, judgmental or think anyone's immature if they are fans of it. I mean, obviously, if you've seen any of my videos or watched the NLSS, you know I'm not the most mature man in the world. But yeah, so it's... The game relies on cheap laughs, which is not necessarily unexpected. I really can't believe that I didn't kill him there. This game does feel like it would benefit from a turbo controller in all likelihood. But yeah, you know, that's my major complaint, I guess. That, and I do think the game, and this is something that I usually shy away from criticizing for the most part, but I do think it's a little expensive, given the scope of the game and I'm not going to necessarily say the quality of the game, but given the scope of the game, I do think it's a little bit expensive relative to what a lot of the competition in the same kind of vein charges on Steam. But again, that's mostly up to you. It does feel like they're kind of relying on name recognition to justify that price point to a certain extent. At least from my standpoint. That might be me projecting on the game. Who knows? Anyway, we're going to come down through here. Now that we do have probably a more realistic chance of living. One more hit will kill me, so I just got to be a little cautious here. Oh, yep, there was a toaster fairly close by, but that was... This was actually the first level I beat, so I'm hoping that I can... oh my god, I got hit by that. Maybe there's something good over here. It's just a beer. I'm going to get killed before I even go up there then. But yeah, I'm hoping that I'll be able to at least demonstrate how to beat this on camera. Demonstrate how to beat it on camera, the Northernlion story. The fire did melt the snow there. I like that. It's good to do physically accurate design. So we'll come down here. And, you know, despite it looking like a kind of a run-and-gun game, this is a game where patience is a virtue as well. You definitely want to find yourself being a little bit more cautious than you otherwise might be. Thank God we got to that toaster. That was a crapshoot to even make it there. You got to do a little bit of the standard, like, ice move here. We still have one beer, which is enough to potentially keep us alive for a little while. Again, the rock is, like, it's a terrible upgrade. And I kind of resent that I like that they put it in the game, but I resent that it's actually in the game as, like, something that you could use to improve upon your chances, because that has not been my experience so far. I wish there were more power-ups. I think the game is a little bereft of stuff that you can actually use to improve yourself. Oftentimes, it seems like, you know, it's just this Super Mecha Death Christ, the Glitch Gremlin, and, oh, I have to platform here. I didn't even realize. This Super Mecha Death Christ, the Glitch Gremlin, and then the Super Scope occasionally, which you lose if you get hit once. So it'd be nice if it had a more variety of power-ups. I think that's going to be a pretty common criticism. Ah! That was such an easy platforming section that I fucked up stupidly. There we go. Snowman is dead. So, oh my god. Okay, I swear to god I pressed the jump button on that one. I wonder if this is like weird Fraps interaction or something. Fool me once, okay, I'm sticking to the ice. I did not notice this the first time I played through this. My legs get all janky when that thing starts moving up. Oh, I hit the spikes, but at least it's not Mega Man, so I didn't die. I believe we have to fight Santa Claus himself at the end of this. Yeah, he's throwing gifts at us, as you can see. We got poop dropped on us by that weird Mega Man bird. Oh, God. So if we kill Santa, then we start the second phase of this level. This is one of the weird kind of two-part levels of the game, and then we will have our boss fight, which should be fairly easy because I've done it before. You're gonna die, Santa! If I could pick up this beer, I'd be very pleased. There we go. Oh, almost died on the way down. So we'll take Santa and we'll, you know, sled on his dead body. This is something that you're gonna see. This is the kind of humor that you're gonna see a lot in this game. But it makes for kind of a fun level, in all honesty. We can speed ourselves up, slow ourselves down. It's actually a harder level than you might expect. But it kind of reminds me of doing, like, Sewer Surfing or Neon Knight Riders in TMNT 4. There are probably going to be people who are much, much better at this game than myself, but I guess that's kind of the norm when it comes to video games, isn't it, these days? Now, where is this beer that I can pick up, because I kind of desperately need some extra health? And yeah, we'll finish this level. So overall, I'd say I have, like, mixed feelings on AVGN Adventures, but it is, from a gameplay standpoint, a lot better than I thought it would be. It's a totally solid action platformer in its own right. I don't necessarily think it's the, god damn it, the best game ever made. I don't particularly think it's that funny, and sometimes the humor can even be a little bit tedious. It's a little bit expensive, but on a just, like, pure gameplay standpoint, it does a pretty good job of aping the games that it's kind of lovingly trying to imitate or even make fun of at times. So I think it's got a good heart. Ooh, okay, that's good. More like a good fart, am I right? But it's not necessarily a must-play, I would say. I hate that the Skull and Crossbones blocks still kill you even if you are in a brief period of invincibility. I understand why it's done, But that's the other thing that's weird to me, is like the skull and crossbones blocks I've never seen in a game before. And it just kind of seems like, I don't know, convenient design, shall we say. Inelegant design. But I'm not a game designer, so, you know, take my opinion at face value or don't pay attention to it at all. We're going to keep this up until we hopefully manage to beat this level. This section in and of itself is actually not altogether that difficult, or it wasn't for me the first time I did it anyway, but of course now that I'm doing it on camera, everything that was once difficult is now, you know, +5 difficulty. We don't even need to get that beer because we're at full health right now. The other major complaint that I brought up a couple times here, but I want to reiterate, is lack of power-up variety is kind of a real sore spot for me, you know. This is a weird criticism coming from someone who plays all Mega Man games exclusively with the Mega Buster, except when it comes to bosses. But I would have loved to have seen more variety in terms of... okay, we barely made it. More variety in terms of, you know, not just, like, I'm okay with just having the Zapper as my main weapon, but it would have been awesome if we would have some more Castlevania-style items that we can, you know, throw. Rogue Legacy magics, if you will. Imagine if Rogue Legacy only had 2 different kinds of magic. It's already, like, it's only got 4 or 5 kinds of magic, I guess, until you unlock the Spell Thief and the Lich. But imagine if it had even less variety than that. People would probably not be super thrilled with it. So I think it's in my best interest to just spend more time on the actual snow. We'll pick up the beer and then... Okay, we made it down there. There we go. We were actually so close to the bottom there anyway. All right, so here's our boss fight. These guys are going to circle around, and then they're going to shoot out shots in a traditional video game-like pattern, and our goal is to shoot them when they all come together. Otherwise, they're not vulnerable. So all we have to do here is, you know, mash the button when we have them in our sights, and apart from that, just don't get hit, which is easier said than done. This boss fight is occasionally a little bit tricky. It did take me probably 10 or 15 lives to kill this on my first attempt, but now that I know the secret, I'm hoping that it's a little bit easier. It's definitely one of those games as well. Yeah, I'm going to be killed here. Yep. It's one of those games that, you know, the second time that you play it, you're definitely going to have a lot more success, and maybe you'll have a much better chance of beating it on hard mode. It's like Dark Souls, you know? Once you get good at it, you get better a lot more quickly, and the game is not necessarily difficult. There's just a lot of concentration required. Oh, I should not have taken 2 damage there. A lot of concentration required, a lot of memorization required, and a little bit of experience required to remember what all enemies do and when they do it. So we're going to die again here. I will say that if you're watching this and saying I'm terrible at it, A, you're not wrong, but B, it is a lot harder than it looks. Believe it or not, that was terrible of me. 14 lives left, though. I think we'll be able to win again. So this is a very small fraction, by the way, of the stuff that you can see in Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures. Obviously, there were like 8 levels, and I'm showing off 2 of them here in like a half hour. You can do your own math. I did die in an yeah, I deserve to die on that one. You just got to move back and forth every single time, and there's a set pattern, but, you know, executing on that pattern every single time when it has a pretty thin margin of error can be a little bit troublesome. You just got to be vigilant, you know? You lose in these games when you take risks that are otherwise not in the canon of the risks that you should take to kill the bosses, is the way I feel about it. The consistency is much more important than having, like, one very major play. Let's see if we can take this guy out here. Oh, that was silly of me. And now I've probably... Oh, okay. I managed to get out of that with full health because I took the beer, but please tell me I can beat these bosses without actually getting myself killed. That would be disappointing. But yeah, with 8 levels, each one is going to take you a little bit longer than it took me on the first try, unless you're a lot better at the game than myself, which is not out of the realm of possibility at all. But, you know, it seems like a sizable-ish game. Oh, my God. Am I safe here? I could have been safe there. I don't know if these guys have a set pattern or if they actually follow you around a little bit. That one was much better, though. I didn't expect this to be a half-hour-long video. But, yeah, you know, what I'm trying to get at is, you know, you can easily get... you know, a weekend's worth of entertainment out of this game, it's seeming. So when you put it that way, $15 doesn't sound like it's that expensive at all. It's just that the, again, other relevant games in this game's genre and niche have not necessarily had such a brazen price point. And again, I'm always the guy who's like, Gone Home, it's $20, it's only 2 hours long, but it's worth it. So it's weird for me to be taking the alternate standpoint. But it is something, you know, I mentioned that in the Gone Home video as well. I was like, this is going to be cost prohibitive for a lot of people, and that's fine. Okay, managed not to get hit that time. Just kind of surprising to me. Okay, we're probably going to die again here. Just don't be stupid about it. We were very close to finishing that off. This is as frustrating for you to watch as it is for me to play, I'm sure, at this point. If only I could mash the turbo button a little faster up there, that I should not be taking that damage. But maybe that'll be the motivation I need to be better. AKA, I'm mad because I'm bad. So we'll get these guys to circle around again. I don't want to pick up that beer just yet. There's no downside to it, I suppose, except that, you know, it would take me out of my pattern, which is what I'm concerned about mostly. Okay, there's the good one right there. Then we'll fall back down on that, and we'll probably... Oh, my God, I managed not to get hit. That's very surprising. I got hit afterwards, but that's okay. That means I'm going to get another round of hitting them in here. And... Oh, my God, they're like one hit away, but so am I. Ah, I jumped right into it. Oh, come on. And this is the kind of thing that is like a very positive aspect of this game, is it does kind of elicit those emotions. It's not just a cheap cash-in for laughs with like AVGN jokes in it. Not that that would be a cheap cash-in, because, you know, he puts in a lot of hard work on his content, of course, but there is a at least solid game at the core here. It's certainly a hell of a lot better than Take Down Red Saber, which I also played through today and did a let's look at it. Let's put it that way. And they're the same price. So if you want to pick up one game this weekend on Steam, please make it this and not Take Down Red Saber. Oh, okay. I'm playing pretty badly here. But for great power comes great responsibility. That's the end of our lives. Yep, I jumped right into it again. We only have 8 lives left. I understand that this is frustrating to watch, but hey, it's what you get. It's a Nintendo hard platform. It's a tough as nails platformer in the same vein as a, you know, a Mega Man, basically. It is the definite closest comparison to Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures. This is the most Mega Man-y game I've played in a long time. It's also got a little bit of Contra in it, but more Mega Man-y, I would say, for sure. Now, this is a fight that's going very well for me. I'm going to get hit. Oh, I managed to sneak away. This might be the one, then. Just don't get hit twice and then fall into a pit and die. Oh, my God. I'm going to lose like 23 lives on this boss. That's disappointing. It does seem that you can mash the button faster to shoot more. I was only half joking when I said like a turbo controller. Seems like a smart idea here. I definitely should not be picking up that Rolling Rock power-up. There is an achievement for drinking 100 beers. I got to be close to that at the very least over the course of this episode. Not episode, I guess. Video. I know people are going to ask for a Let's Play. I'm not going to do a Let's Play of this game, but I'm sure that we'll be inundated with them on YouTube if that's your thing. And if it is your thing, by all means, go ahead and watch them. It's one of those games that you can, you know, watch a Let's Play of, and it definitely will not ruin the experience for you. You can play it through yourself and still get a lot of the value out of it. Just don't fall down, and you should win. Okay, we did win there. Took a lot longer than expected, but successful nonetheless. I would have loved if it was a little bit more Mega Man-y and you actually like got a power from each boss every single time. But in any case, as always, thanks for watching. There will be a link in the video description to pick up Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures on Steam. I do want to point out, by the way, that you might notice that the short links that are in the video description, they're personalized to me. That's something that bit.ly allows you to do. They're not affiliate links. I don't get like $1 if you buy the game on Steam or anything like that. I just want to point that out, just in case some people were worried that, you know, it's a conflict of interest financially, I suppose. They are just links to Steam, and I have analytics on them so I can go back to the publisher and be like, hey, you should give me review codes because 100 people clicked on the store page. That being said, don't just click on it unless you want to buy it. Otherwise, that's misrepresentative. What am I even talking about now? Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures, it's solid. It's a mixed bag to a certain extent, but from a gameplay standpoint, it's actually pretty fun. And it is, you know, if you're a fan of games like Mega Man and, you know, Contra and Castlevania, then you might find this action platformer is up your alley. A little bit expensive at $15, not that much variety and power-ups. Sometimes the jokes are a little cheap, and you know, it's not necessarily that funny in my perspective, but I still think it's pretty good in spite of that. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like. It does help the video get out there and inform and entertain more people. Leave a comment telling me what you liked or did not like about the video, and if you want to see more first impressions of games like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I do upload these pretty much every day. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I will see you next time.